Hi, welcome to Smeester's Corner. I'm Adam Smeester. Today's topic is the difference between being wise and being smart. Now, you can be both, but a lot of people confuse the two. All right, so we're going to talk about the difference. And if you had to choose one, you might want to choose being wise over being smart. A wise person is the type of person other people look up to. They can be role models. They're the type of people who you want to be like. And you probably have met some of those people. They kind of inspire you to be a little bit better or inspire you to be a little bit more. That's a wise person. A wise person knows a lot about the way the world works, and they're very good at navigating through the world. Because of that, they're also good at getting through tough times. They're either good at navigating around the tough times and not falling into those pits, or they're good at, when they do, getting out and getting through those tough times. In essence, they're very good at getting up when they get knocked down. A smart person has a lot of brain power because they're intelligent. They have a high IQ. They know a lot about the world, probably because they read. They know a lot of facts. They can retain a lot of facts. They're very persuasive when arguing because they're very quick. A smart person is also probably pretty good at arguing their point of view, showing why they're right, proving why they're right in arguments, and they probably like to talk a lot. Some of the time. Not all smart people, but a lot of smart people, they like to talk. You probably run into smart people like this, and they just, conversation comes up or a topic comes up, and they just will talk and talk and talk. You just kind of have to sit back and listen. Sometimes maybe you interject, maybe you don't, maybe it's intimidating. But sometimes that's a challenge for them to kind of show what they know. We all know people like that. You've probably run into them. But now I'm going to talk about the wise person and what distinguishes them from just the average smart person. To be wise, a wise person does at least these three very important things. They observe, listen, and ask questions. I'll say that again. They observe, listen, and ask questions. I'm going to talk about each of those three. The first one, to observe. They're very observant. They know a lot about the way the world works because they observe the way the world works. It's not because they've read it. They've observed. They observe human behavior. They observe human reactions. And what's really important is they look to the past and they observe in the past the enlightened and the unenlightened. Sometimes a smart person will kind of negate the past a little bit sometimes. So for example, when I was in college, it was kind of popular to kind of poo-poo the past. Like the past, all ideas in the past are outdated. And they just like to look for the new ideas, what's relevant. A wise person looks to the past and they look to see what works and what does not work. You can look to new ideas, but you don't discount the ideas just because they're old ideas. There's a quote I really like. The wisdom from the past was hard-earned, and your dead ancestors might have something useful to tell you because they survived. So wise people know that it's useful to look to the past to find answers to things. Smart people sometimes are just obsessed with the new. All right, so that's observation. The next point was listening. Wise people listen to other people. They're just not talking all the time. They stop and they listen to what other people have to say. And the reason that they do that is because they have an assumption that smart people don't have a lot of times. They assume that they could be wrong. They might be wrong. If someone disagrees with them, there might be a reason that other people disagree with them, and there might be something that they're overlooking. So wise people listen to what other people have to say because they assume they could be wrong. The last one is asking questions. Wise people ask questions because they know they don't have it all figured out. They know they're not 100% right. So they ask questions when they're listening. They know that all issues just aren't black and white. They know that there's gray areas. They know that there's nuance, and they seek that out, and they seek that out by asking questions. They know that it's not what side you fall on, left or right, it's why. And they want to seek out why you fall on that side. Not who did you vote for, but why. Because of those three things, a wise person can overcome their biases because they're intellectually humble, because they know that they could be wrong. Smart people a lot of time get stuck in their biases. There's a number of different studies I've seen that talks about how the more education a person has, the more likely they are to exhibit like certain biases, like my side bias or confirmation bias, the more education that they have, because they feel like, well, I'm smart, I know the answer to this. And so they don't seek out other opinions because they think they're right. So here's some things to think about if you want to be a wise person. Let your ideas be interesting. You only come to those interesting ideas by doing the 3 things that I talked about. But if people already know what positions you're going to take and why before they even ask you, you're probably not a very interesting person. If you're a radical on either the left or the right, your ideas are probably not that interesting. You come off as a crank. Wise people know that neither side is 100% right, so they take ideas from both sides. Don't assume that everyone thinks like you. That's really annoying when I come across someone and then they just start spouting off on an idea that's probably politically charged as if I just agreed with them. That's super annoying, because what if I don't? It's easy to spot bias, double standards, weaknesses in people's arguments, and hypocrisy in other people's arguments and other people's ideas. But do you examine your own for those? It's a lot harder to see them in yourself. But a wise person, because they're not prone to those biases, can see that. So here's a couple questions for you. How open are you to being wrong? How open are you to new ideas and new evidence? How open are you to being persuaded of something different? Are you open at all? Be open. A wise person is open. Here's the next question. How do you react when your argument starts falling apart? Do you resort to calling names? Do you just leave the conversation and say, this is stupid? Or do you just sit down and go, that's interesting. Tell me more about that. Because that's what a wise person would do. Here's the last question. What steps do you take to know the arguments of others, especially people with whom you disagree? Do you listen to them and engage them and ask questions? I know a lot of my students have been defriended because they disagree with some of their peers. That's not wise. That's immature. So do you listen to those people and seek them out, or do you only listen to people who already agree with you and listen to them try to destroy or dismantle or crush somebody else that disagrees with you? Now, because a wise person does everything that we've just talked about, a wise person is also very good at doing the following in life. And this is where we want to be. They do 3 things well. They can adapt, shape, and select. They can adapt, shape, and select. So here's what I mean by that. They can adapt, which means they can change to fit the environment that they're in. Sometimes if a smart person is in an environment and there's a bunch of disagreement going on, or all the people are not like them and they just hear what they consider to be propaganda spouted over and over about the coming from the other side, they just, they can't handle it, or they just get upset and they have to leave. A wise person knows that maybe they have a point. They can adapt to fit the environment that they're in or the people that they're around. They're not so rigid that they can't change or be open. The next one is shape. They can also shape their environment. So they can adapt to it, but they can also shape it too. They can engage with other people. They can listen and they can ask questions, and that shapes the environment. That helps other people understand where you're coming from, where they're coming from. You can challenge other people in polite ways and have an interesting conversation without everyone getting heated. So you can shape that environment. The last one is they can select. They can select a new course in life. So if the people around them are being too toxic, if what you're doing in life is not working, you can observe that about yourself and you can select a new course in life. Something that's going to make you successful in a different way maybe, but you can try it out. Doing these things is knowing your needs and trying to meet them. And that's what wise people are also good at. It's not just knowing things and facts or people, it's knowing yourself and what you need. So to wrap this up, here's another quote I like. Never sacrifice who you could be for who you are, because you could always be better. Be willing to change. Be willing to adapt. Life changes. And if you can't change with it, you're going to get stuck and things are going to get really hard and life will probably end up overwhelming you. Everybody knows that you should not be the same person at age 40 that you were at age 20 or 15. So you need to change. Don't make that excuse, well, this is just who I am. That's what a lazy person does. Okay, be willing to change. Try out new ideas. So I hope this helps. Thanks for watching.